Then the way the Skype works is that everyone will get a copy after. I mean, for your own use, but the video will be posted on the YouTube channel of Uniarte.
Nice.
But first off, I wanna yeah, thank you for your interest in applying. This is a very new yeah, program that we are doing. Before this, we had a building and we did local residencies where we had open calls for people to come into our building and get a month to do some work, to revisit work or either create new works. Um, Now COVID happened, so as everywhere, and that meant that we couldn't stay with the building. But what we did do is try to see, okay, how can we continue some sort of program that will keep allowing artists to kind of make progress in their work and get a way to connect not only with a larger audience but also among artists in the Caribbean in itself. So that meant that going online would mean not only focusing more on the six islands. So Uniarte specifically does not only cater to Curacao or Aruba or the ABC, but extends itself and is also open for the total of the six Dutch islands, but also the six plus is initiated to get a broader dialogue and also invite artists from the other Caribbean islands. So the usual separation that is made, which is French, Spanish, and English Caribbean. So today, yeah, we are the six of us. Two, Ailsa and Lizanne couldn't make it to this session, but they will be sending a digital, yeah, presentation on their progress, and then we can all watch the results on the website. So yeah, the initial idea for our meeting today is for us to discuss the work, not some type of like homework, but really like a conversation. I think it's very nice to kind of present to each other what you guys proposed initially, and of course, as we know, as soon as we start creating new works or actually start, many things get adjusted or changed or evolved. So I think this is a good moment before the final material is finished and sent in to have a discussion and a larger conversation, and not only among ourselves and our friends, but also peer artists that are working in the region itself, because that always implies also a different type of understanding of what we're busy with. Um, then let's say if we're busy talking to a European setting, in a European or a US setting, that is mostly the case, I believe, for my part at least. So that's what makes me excited. Most people don't know all of you, so I'm gonna just want to do an introduction round so everybody can introduce themselves. I know a bit of all of you. I read your proposals as well. The board has read your proposal, but maybe this is a good moment to introduce and tell us a bit about your practice and maybe also your future outlooks and ambitions, because that is also something that people will immediately know as well. So let's see. I don't know who wants to go first. Who feels like, let's say, the only gentleman. Normally it's ladies first, but you're the only gentleman. So
Samuel.
Well, hello everybody. My name is Samuel Sarmiento. I'm from Venezuela, and well, I'm currently live in Aruba. And for me, it's an interesting experience because I think I'm starting to create some connections with Caribbean artists. It means that since I moved to Aruba, I have been sharing with some Caribbean artists, Aruban artists, people from Curacao. But for me, this is the first time that I speak with people, for example, like people from Jamaica or other islands, and it's very interesting because I think probably we have a common language, and at the same time, we need to find a way to solve some common problems because we live in islands, we have a very rich culture, But at the same time, I think it's interesting to create new platforms to communicate to each other and, make it happen. I mean, for us, sometimes it's very difficult to show our projects out of the Caribbean islands, and at the same time, visit other artists in the Caribbean could be a real challenge for us. Well, about me, I am a painter. I'm very interested in Caribbean symbols. I really like to collect Aboriginal stories. I mean, stories from different Indian tribes. I really like the idea of archetypes, symbols, the way that the different cultures have to share in knowledge, because I think that probably short tales are a good way to build values in some communities. And for me, that's very important. I am a big fan of drawing, and I always use short tales as a reference in my drawings because we can find magical creatures, but at the same time, we have a rich landscape. And at the same time, if we study our different stories, there are many gaps, and I think we need to work on that. It's necessary in this moment. For this open call, well, recently I participated in an art residency in the Netherlands at the CBK Zuidoost. Is an art center located in the south east part of Amsterdam, and it's an area where you can find a lot of people from the diaspora, a lot of people from Suriname, from Curacao, and at the same time from Indonesia too. And for me, it was super interesting because I think, for example, some of these communities, they use short stories to share knowledge. For example, in Curacao and in some places, in some areas of Colombia or in some areas of Suriname, they use the story of Anansi to illustrate some stories that can be interesting for children. But for me, it was something completely new because I have my own symbology in my work, but it was an experience to get more of that and start to create new paintings and drawings related to that. At the same time, I think if you create, if you are working in a painting project, you need to find other ways to explain your production. Now I'm working in a short documentary to explain the way that I used different local symbols or local reference uh, from people to Suriname or Curacao or Indonesia into my paintings. I'm still working on that. Yeah.
Thanks, Samuel. Yeah, so your proposal indeed also talks about the residency, so we'll go more on that after the round. Yeah, who will want to go next?
Okay, I
Oni?
can go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so hi, I'm Venezuela American. I am in Curacao, so I'm from Curacao. Um, it's so weird talking about myself. It's been so long since I have like a talk with artists about myself. So I'm like trying to figure out what to say, but let me just start with this year, I guess. That this year has been a change for me, because I used to be part of IBB. I used to be a staff member there and I went to school there. So that was my whole world in a sense. And then I decided I'm gonna step out of that bubble, out of that world. So I'm on my own. And it's been a very interesting development for me. I discovered that I'm a visual artist and a creative writer. I already knew these two things, but I separated them. I never thought of myself of the two things together. And after doing Wintertuin, it's like literature festival. And they asked me to combine what I do with video with creative writing. And then I was like, yeah, duh. So it's so obvious. But
Makes sense.
for me, somehow, I always separated my poems from my videos, which also have text in them always. So it's very obvious. But I just separated the two things for some reason. And then at that moment, I realized I'm both things. And then together with the two other writers, we started a collective of writers that's called Carrying Narratives of Cargando Narrativa en Papiamento. And we've been doing amazing things, and I'm feeling the sense of community. And somehow that is something that I got always from IBB, which is like always focus on community, focus on bringing art to the people. And then somehow now I'm creating my own little community, and that is really beautiful to me. So I've grown a lot in that sense, just being on my own. Within my own practice, I am very focused on identity, and right now I'm super focused on the journey of a woman, specifically me, because that's the first reference I have. And then I can go outside of myself. And coming back to Curacao from the Netherlands, I studied there for 4 years. I finished in 2018, and then I came back, and then I started working at IBB. And I just started to kind of have to meet myself all over again, because the me in the Netherlands, the me before going to Netherlands, and the me who's here right now are three different people. So so yeah, those 3 years that I've been here, I've been just thinking a lot about these things, but I've never again put them together. And now that I'm doing this, I just realized that everything connects, and everything comes back full circle. Um, so yeah, that's a bit about me, I guess. If you guys want to know more, you can ask me.
Super
Nice.
great. Thanks. It's an interesting journey. So on top of COVID, there were other transformations going on. So thanks for sharing that. Um, well, now I'm just gonna let's go. Let's Nika, would you
Yeah,
care? Yeah.
yeah, it's fine. Yeah, I think it's transformation all around. But I studied at Edna Manley College in Kingston, Jamaica. In about 20, I finished in about 2003, so quite a long time now. And in that time in between, that was painting. I trained as a painter. So I think everything I do is always coming back to that core reference of language of painting. But then later on, I decided to study media art, and that journey took me to the UK and Japan, and it's like vastly different cultures. So all of that is trickling into my work. But one of the things that I developed as a medium was kind of artist or experimental animated films, which you can also use as video projection and installation. And so that really interested me as a way of getting away from the kind of collector driven world that we had in Kingston at the time of, you do these paintings and it's like, just it was a collector's world, I should say. And so it was a way to introduce an experience rather than an object into the landscape. And then in that time also, I started teaching at Edna Manley College, so I found myself having to deliver as well what I learned and experienced. And I started to explore artist books as because I was always looking for experience rather than object. And So I started also doing textile work because one of the things that interested me is the kind of handcraft of Jamaica. So like Samuel, I'm also interested in the language of the area. And so textile work, I think it started actually in Aruba when I went to Caribbean Linked and I met Alidia there. There's a rich kind of arts textile industry, and so that carried over into Jamaica, and I started looking. And so before COVID, I left off creating souvenirs, just like the ones that they sell on the north coast of Jamaica to tourists, but I was revising them to reflect some kind of reality. But through COVID, my work has changed. I have started to look at the labor and productivity of artists in a different way. And I wanted to also, like, Wesley, is that how I say it? Yeah, to think about community and to think about connection and maybe the intangible more again. So my project for this call is not necessarily a product, but it's an experience again. And I think I'm going back in that direction. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you, Onika. Let's go. Gabrielle, Lydia, you mind going? Let's meet Gabrielle. Am I pronouncing it correctly?
Yeah, you're pronouncing it correctly, Gabrielle. Okay, so my name is Gabrielle Moore, a Barbadian artist. I usually
Can your volume be a bit higher, or maybe a bit more in the microphone so we can hear you?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, no problem.
Yeah.
My name is Gabrielle Moore. I'm a Barbadian artist. I usually explore like materials and also the connection between the mind and the body. In my work, I usually create kind of like installations, a mix of everything, honestly. Installations, drawings, sculptures. So for this call, I wanted to like hone in that more into my surroundings and kind of focus more on what is going on around me and how I can portray that more into my work. So basically, my proposal was to create a couple of pieces, but as how everything goes, some things don't turn out right. And as further into the call, as we go along, when we get to explain that stuff, you'll see that my work kind of touches on the psychological aspect of how the world works, how our feelings and how our emotions kind of intertwine to create who we are, etc.
Cool. I'm looking forward already. Lydia.
Hi, my name is Alidia Weaver. Thank you. I wanted to thank you, Sharali, for this beautiful opportunity to be with all these amazing artists. Some I know, some I don't know yet, but I'm very excited to know your work, to see your passion, your aspirations, your inspiration also. Well, my journey has been very interesting. I am actually my discipline is actually dance, more contemporary dance, and I did studied in a conservatory in Boston. Then I went to New York. I studied the Alvin Ailey Dance Company School. So that was more likely my studies, but I grew up in an ambiance with, my mom is also a teacher, my sister dance, so we have a family dance school in Aruba. But I moved back in 2004 And because of the space I had back at the dance school, and I guess the freedom to do whatever I was interested in or wanted to, for some reason, I wanted to do some projects with other disciplines in the arts. So some concepts were born during my time there, even a little bit before. Big productions with different visual artists and all disciplines, and the concepts were brought on in theaters because there were no actually spaces to present them. So it was actually, they became multidisciplinary dance theater / art performances, but in a way that I was not really not really conscious about what it became, because they were all experiments in a way. And I have to say, because my husband, Ryan Odeberg, is a visual artist, and he actually inspired me, and also all these amazing artists that I work with for almost like 15 years. I decided that I wanted to continue my journey into visual arts, art performances, and just experiment all the time. And it's been a very interesting time and also work that I've been doing these couple of years. It's interesting because since 2017, I've been working on the concept of colonialism and about identity, and yes, trying to figure things out, and about you say that the history of the island and their surroundings, the Caribbean, as it's moving a lot through these times. It's very, very important, as you see now. So I presented in 2019 at the Bienal de Cuba and Tropical, which was a concept that it was like a little bit of a timeline, a little bit of the history of the island, but also concerning what was going in the Caribbean. So from there, my research continued, and then last year got a stipendium from Mondrian, and it's been a lot of work, a lot of interesting new ideas and inspiring work, and also it's interesting because I'm a little bit, I guess, older now, and my interest has changed. Of course, with dance as being the main, the basic of my work, but still, I feel like in the contemporary art, it's more it became more art performances, because I decided that I wanted to continue exploring about the colonial part, but also the diaspora of my DNA, which I've done. I guess many of us have been trying to figure that part of our identity, our roots, trying to get back to that, to our ancestors. And it's been a pretty beautiful journey. It's beautiful that we all come from the Caribbean, and we all are creating new stories. And that is, I guess, it's important now. We're moving to, but just a little bit about what's my work that I'm going to be presenting. It's I have I have an exhibition in Aruba since summer, and it started because last year of the COVID, because of the situation on the island, and I guess Curacao and many different places in the Caribbean have suffered a lot. And I mean, it's still not 100%, but with work, with money, with food, and everything that's going on, with the government not really pinpointing the problems, and also on the social aspects of it. So my work now is based on photography. So actually, I'm going to present 10 photographies and also installations. I use all kinds of materials. I actually, I'm always looking for objects that resembles certain ideas, certain lines and dynamics of what I want to do with it. And also that has to always be part of the performance, and make something new with it, create a new story around it. So that is what I'm going to be presenting, the exhibition that's in this new space by Centro de Actividad Rancho, which is a new space in Oranjestad. It's they've entered a new space there, and it's how you say that? It's a space that they want to create. I mean, they have all kinds of events, from fishing boats, and from, so they're actually touching base with all the different aspects of the island. And they started with a celebration of the 200 years of the city of Oranjestad. So then I presented, the work that I presented reflected on the social difficulties. For example, child abuse, for example, women in displacement, the medio ambiente, which is yes, the problem with the let's say with the global warming, and so a little bit of different themes. And what I actually did was that the photography that was taken by my husband, Ryan, reflected what I felt inside. And the installations are what is external. So what is really, that is actually the difference of the work. And the exhibition is called Minuting Palabra, which is in our language capiamento, but it means no words available. I guess it's felt last year. I think not only me, but everybody, how when you're not living on the island and you're away, and then you see all these different situations, friends, families, everybody that is going through these difficult times, and how there were no ways to help these people, to help your family or to help the situation. So I wanted to really go back to Aruba and help in a way, and to give to, yes, I mean, of course, when you're outside, you see things from a different perspective, and when you're there, you don't see things anymore. You don't realize how bad the situation is, or you do.
Yeah.
But this, it's been very, very difficult, and I yes, that is actually what the concept is about.
Thank you, Alidia. I think what we could do next after the introduction round, is that we go through maybe more in depth into the proposals. And Lydia, you explained quite already the
Yes.
one of the reasons, indeed, of coming to the proposal and showing some of the works that you have in the exhibition on Aruba. What I'm interested, I post some of the few questions in the email for us to talk about. I'm very much interested in to hear how you guys start, and and specifically of how, if changes emerged and why they did emerge, and what lessons did they bring for you. And maybe some of you have presentations. I'm not sure. That is free if you guys want to share screen to kind of be more explicit about it. For Uniarte, I think, and for me, I've come to understand that if people get an idea of or if artists show a part of the process that they are going through, that gives a bit more understanding of what we actually do, and how how it can differ for everyone else. But it's also interesting if we get a moment to kind of react um, on each other, and to also help us in our own processes, maybe also shed a light or ask a particular question that maybe will initiate a different way of thinking about things. And especially since we are all islanders, it's easy to really think in terms of a cocoon. um, Even though I think in the world you could be in the largest city and still make a cocoon for yourself. Um, but yeah, so that's it. And I will start with Gabrielle because yours were really short, and you made me super curious. So I don't know what if I do you have something to share with us in terms of maybe visuals that you would want to share, or
Okay, so starting out, my aim was kind of like to explore the idea of paradise as a visual metaphor for the mind, and somewhere in between the writing of that proposal and starting the work, I actually changed to exploring like the relationship between our minds and our bodies. So my original idea for the proposal was to create three drawings, a wearable sculpture which would be incorporated into a performance piece. And this idea of the performance piece was kind of a stretch for me because I haven't created any performance art before. So I wasn't too sure how it would turn out, and it was a bit different for me as it was out of my comfort zone. So initially, I wanted to create a full body sculpture, like wearable sculpture, like I said before, for the performance. But my mind changed from that kind of into like creating a mask after I had the idea for the three drawings that I talked about before. So they're not finished as yet, but these are the drawings. I'm kind of stuck as to where to go from here because in my work, I usually like to add more stuff. I don't know if y'all can see properly.
Beautiful.
I usually like to add more to the drawings to make them kind of say overwhelming with the material aspects that I add. Um, when I first started, I was trying to come up with ideas. I wanted the performance to be on, since, as I stated before, it would be like the most challenging part of the proposal for me, and I wanted to stay close to the original proposal as possible, since it was very easy for me to get carried away and create like God knows what. um, for the sculptural piece for the performance, this is the math idea I came up with.
Oh. Mm. Beautiful.
And what I learned is that nothing ever goes as planned. Like I said before, I can have a foolproof, impossible to break plan, and something will still happen to have me making a change. I also found myself kind of getting caught up more in the making process than in the research that I had stated that I wanted to do. So I think need to go back more and do some more research because I kind of stuck in the making right now. I haven't started to film the performance piece as yet. I am going to do that this week, but with the kind of technical aspect to it, I hope that I can get that figured out. And going forward, I think I want to explore more the idea between, again, the connection between the mind and the body, but more with incorporating like aspects of my surroundings, what's going on around me here in Barbados. Yeah, that's it.
thanks, Gabrielle. And I want to ask you in terms of the comfort zone, because that is the first thing. I'm always interested in pushing barriers and comfort zones, and and breaking those and dealing with those, at least for me. So that caught my eye, because you were you kind of drifted off because of it, because it was a challenge, but yet it's still, I still hear the word performance in what you still plan to do. So what initially is giving you that obstacle, or do you see as an obstacle that you have to overcome in terms of performance, and how do you intend to do the performance? And I would want to tie it to the research, because immediately, if maybe you can think of ways how you can link it, what do you need to research on? So what part do you need research to do research on?
I think I need to do more research on performance art in general, but not only that, as in how I want to portray what I want to portray in the piece and with the performance art. What is stopping me, what is kind of hindering me is the actual going out there and doing it. Sure, I'm not going to be doing it in front of people in that sort of way because in this COVID environment here in Barbados, but it's kind of like um, a touchy kind of thing because I'm not too sure how I'm going to get it done as I haven't done it as yet. But I think I just need to just jump into it, go ahead and try and see how it turns out.
Mhm.
So in terms of research methods, do anyone, so maybe talk about their research methods, that maybe Gabrielle could give Gabrielle a head start into looking how she could tackle this performance piece?
Um, I think maybe a good way to start is to look at other performance artists. Maybe, I don't know if she already said that she is doing that, but I think that's the easiest way to start. And I don't know, for me, performances are very personal in a way. Maybe that's specifically to me, so maybe it does not count for her. But I need to know what I want to say, what my body wants to say, in order to create the performance. So maybe that could be helpful. I don't know. But I also wanted to ask, like, do you know specifically what you want to do with the performance? Like, what you're gonna do, like, beginning to end? Like, you stand here, you go there. Like, do you know already what you want to do?
Yes, I know. Like I have it all thought in my head. I have it all planned out. But sometimes to me, it seems a bit too rigid. It seems like too structured for what I want to try to say with the performance piece.
But I think
I,
then you don't have to worry about that, because in your head it's perfect, but when you do it, your body is going to take over. It's not going to be
Yeah.
what you have in your head. You're just going to do what you need to do. Like, you're not even, like, in a way you're present. You're so present that you're not present in a way. I don't know if it makes sense, but that's how I feel when I'm doing a performance. I'm so centered that I'm just doing. And if you already have in your head what you want to do, then you know for sure it's gonna be okay, because you're gonna do it anyways. Your body already knows what it needs to do.
yeah, understand. Thank you.
I think I
Yes,
would
I think.
add. Oh, go ahead. You want to go
No,
ahead,
no, no.
Abigail? Uh,
No,
okay, I
yes,
think I
okay.
would just say quickly that sometimes as artists, when we get like a big idea, and especially if it's like a medium you've not worked in before, your body or your mind is not used to it. I get this all the time. Like when I was starting in textiles, I wanted to do these massive textile pieces, and it would just cripple me to think about it because I still don't know how to embroider properly yet, right? So I think the thing is, and the best advice I've received is do small tests for yourself. So like even in your bedroom or in your home or your backyard, where you don't have that pressure of this is going to be the piece, this is going to be the big thing. And then you do 10 until you get comfortable with whatever modality or whatever way you're going to approach your body and the space. And then for sure by the 10th one, it's going to be natural, I think.
I think that's a beautiful way to to embrace that, I think the first, I mean, first as the beginning, and also is a good thing to do is to video yourself, um, but sometimes you become very critical of what you see, and sometimes you feel like you don't, it's not really what you, I mean, that feeling of not liking what you see, but actually um, it's actually not relevant for what you actually have to do, because it's, I guess what you mean in your performance is an action. But I think you always, this is what I've learned through improvisation, um, and yeah, movement, choreography, or whatever it is for art performance, is that being centered, is that always remember that in a on on a more divine level. I mean, your work is connected. You feel connected with your work, even if it's mentally, physically, or energetically. But you have to trust that intuition. You have it, but you just have to just don't think too much about it. We always do. We always like you said before, and also just don't feel that pressure, because there's no need for that. I mean, it's your presentation. It's you want to share it with the world. You want to share it with the public, and it's gonna be always it always gonna be good. For example, like you were explaining about those different feeling of not stepping into that performance. I mean, the performance. It's a little bit scary sometimes, because you always think about people's reaction, but that's not important. The importance is that for you to present what you prepared, and it will be good. It will always be good. So I'm telling you that from my heart, because I've been performing forever, and I mean, you realize that every time you perform, each time I mean, it becomes part of who you are, and all of a sudden you don't need to think anymore. Like you said before, it becomes part of who you are, and that's the beauty of it. So jump into it.
Thank you so
Some
much.
Yes.
Samuel
Yes.
from the painter, or like
Well, yes, yes. I have a
Thanks.
comment. I think every time an artist create a piece of art, for example, it could be a performance or maybe a photography or a drawing, you are trying to tell a story. And I think you need to understand your own stories, and then you will choose, okay, what I'm saying, why I'm telling this story, and at the same time, how. Because I think if you understand your own story, you can choose the right tools to express that message, and show, for example, if you're trying um, to express a feeling or maybe a situation or a problem or a solution, you need to understand the source of that. Probably you can try different mediums. For example, you can try with video, or at the same time, you can work with a group of people in your performance, or just you. But I think the most important thing is that you need to understand the reason why I'm doing that, why I want to tell this. I think that's important for me. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're
and
welcome.
just for me as a filmmaker, I also really like this idea of getting feedback, because like you mentioned, you're in your hand constantly, and sometimes when you do, like Anika says, the test. So I also do tests, or I have to pitch. I don't like pitching so much, but that's what I have to do. And then when you do that, the more often you do it, you get a particular reaction, and maybe that's not what you went to look for when asking somebody, what do you think, or whatever. And it's not really about exactly what they're saying, but it does provide you information that maybe allows you to move to a next step. So I am, and I definitely agree with it's really looking at other people, maybe listing a few names. You guys have your email, so if you come up to with an artist or a performance piece that you think Gabrielle would like, please feel free to share with each other as well. Thank you. I'm looking forward. I really hope you do the performance because that would be awesome.
Yes. We all want to see it.
I'll try.
And even if it's in the
Yes.
backyard or the location, I mean, feel free to really do it and as comfortable. And every step is another. Every day is another opportunity. Every work there is a next one to come. So yeah.
And it will
So
come across.
yeah.
Can
Um,
I
and-
can I just say one more thing? Because maybe it doesn't even have to be, if the barrier for you right now is like doing it in front of other people, maybe you don't even need to do it in front of people yet, because there are video performances also, so you can do like a video performance, with intent, with angles and stuff like that, and also create something beautiful without having to go to people and present in front of people. Just an idea.
Yeah.
Exactly.
oh, cool. Visually, you're next.
Whoa, okay. um, I do have a presentation, so I'm trying to figure out. I've been using Zoom too much, and now I don't know how to do anything on Skype. Share screen. Here it is. Yes, my desktop. Yeah. Mm, okay, so I kind of assumed that everybody already knew what I was going to do, so then I did not put any of that in it, but I'm just gonna explain then, really fast, what the idea is. You guys can still see me, right? Or you
Yes.
only see the screen?
Now we see you.
Okay, good.
You see.
Yeah, because I have some stuff I want to show too here, so that's why I asked. Um, yeah, well, basically, I'm going to do a blog. The idea came because I want to do a short film, but then I realized that I have different pieces of the puzzle, but I don't know how to connect them yet. So then I decided, okay, I'm going to write an essay in order to better understand what I want to say. And then I saw the open call, and I was like, whoa, but wait, they are talking about a blog. And then I realized that for writing the essay, I need to have some sort of research. So I said, okay, so I'm gonna use the blog as my open sketchbook. And I'm going to do research, make sketches, write poems, write notes, thoughts, whatever, and I'm going to share that in this blog. The blog is called In Busca, which is, in English, it's in search of. Um, so let me just go down and then I can explain a bit more. So the whole idea is, so I think a year ago, maybe almost 2 years already, a friend of mine uh, sent me a few photos. And when I saw those photos, I was so sad because I saw myself as a teenager. We went to the beach and we were taking pictures, and everybody had their bikini and shorts, just beach. And I had like a short, and I had like this, the two-piece bathing suits, but it covers to the stomach, so it's not like a only top, but covers the stomach. And I had that on, but still I was covering my body with a towel in every single picture. And I was like, whoa, I was really uncomfortable in my body. And then I had to think for a second, and I was like, whoa, I am still very uncomfortable in my body. So I needed to go back to why am I so uncomfortable in my body? Why do I feel this way? Why am I the way I am actually? Because at that time, I'm happy to say that I've changed a lot since that moment. But at that moment, I thought I was very secure. I refer to myself now as a very insecure, secure woman. The version of me back then was a very insecure, secure woman. Um, because I thought I had it all together. I have self-esteem. I feel good about myself. But then it was not true. So then I had to go rethink everything about myself. Why am I sometimes, for my own good, too humble? Why am I such a perfectionist? Why do I actually not like my body, not like my face? All these things. So then I started to think a lot about religion and the fact that for me somehow religion had a very specifically Catholicism and Jesus, the idea of Jesus and the perfection, the one you should strive to be like. We all have to be like Jesus. Um, and I've always put all this pressure on myself to be so perfect, to be the perfect daughter, the perfect friend, always taking care of everybody else, and then no one takes care of me. So yeah, I kind of related that to Jesus, for this idea of wanting to be so perfect like Jesus, wanting to be the idea of turning the other cheek, and to know I don't get angry. I honestly don't get angry. Like, I get angry, but I've never been angry, like screaming and having a fit. So, which I guess it's a good thing, but maybe it's not, because sometimes you need to let steam off. But anyway, so I had to think about all of this, and then I decided to split this thing into three parts, which is part one, which is woman, sins, and society. Because the way I am, also society sees me in a way. And also in Curacao, we are very focused on religion. We pretend like we're not, but we are very religion based community, and we have a culture based on religion in a way. So I want to dive into that. Part two is woman in search of perfection. Like I said, I always feel like I need to be perfect, so I'm always searching for that. And then part three is Stained Woman of Mue Mancha, which Mancha is stained, and Mancha is the title of the short film that I'm working towards. And I have this part because I actually had a funeral for myself, so I made this work, and I basically said goodbye to the old me. And I realized that it's okay to be stained. It's okay to be not perfect. Um, so that is the person I am right now. Um, so this is like a vision board for the short film. An interesting development was that I needed to rearrange everything, because in the sequence that they are right now, it's not the logical sequence. In that moment, it was very logical like this, but then doing this, the research and having to put everything together in a block with the different parts made me realize that, for example, the part with the woman and the veil and the dirty body should actually be part of the ode to Dead Flowers, which is the funeral, because this is the last part of the part where I say I'm stained, like I'm okay being stained, and that is the moment I said goodbye to my old self. And then this image of this woman in, what is that thing called in English? Charcoal. Yeah, this woman standing in charcoal and all dirty. Um, Fits more into the idea of, okay, I'm stained and I'm okay with it, so then, yeah, I had to rearrange a lot of things. And I also understood that I had a lot of research already done, because this has been a journey of 2 years, almost. No, I think 2 years. A journey of 2 years, and I've been unconsciously, because I'm a very curious person. So whenever I feel that something is happening to me, I want to know how other people perceive it, how other people experience it. So I start doing interviews with people, or just having random conversation with friends, and then suddenly we hit the topic, and I'm like, wait, I need to record this. Can I record this? And then I record, and then we continue talking. So I basically already did a lot of the work. And when I proposed this, I actually said that I was going to share what I have and then do more research. But then I realized that I have a lot already. So I'm not saying that I'm not gonna continue, because of course I want to do more interviews with more people. But I just realized that sometimes what you have is also enough, you know. And it's just a matter of rearranging and knowing how to use it. So yeah, for research, I've been reading this book, Geloof en Bijgeloof, which is, can someone help me with the translation? Belief and, I don't know what bijgeloof is.
Bijgeloof is
In
superstition, maybe like.
superstition, yeah. So, so yeah, belief, I guess, and superstition. Um, but it's very specific to Catholicism, which is what I experienced my whole life, because I've been raised Catholic. And I'm also reading this book called Mundo Llama Sintamira, which is a book that collects a lot of stuff written about women from the Caribbean, specifically from Curacao. Um, and I'm talking about women, so I need to know more about women of my country and how they have been in the past. And I've learned a lot of interesting things. Like, I've always thought we live a very segregated life, and then reading this, I understood that in the past it was super super segregated. So yeah, I've been learning very interesting stuff. That where I'm struggling right now is that I don't know how to fit all this knowledge in a blog, and how to make it all make sense to other people, because to me, I just put everything wherever and it will make sense to me either ways. But I know that I need to kind of make some sort of make it make sense for other people. So I've been doing interviews too, or like I said, conversations, because I'm maybe sometimes it's just like we're talking, and then I say, okay, let me record. I just chose just one of the interviews I've done, to share a bit about it. And I also explored other religions, because it's not about the religion, but it's how it makes us feel like women, and how we change, or we are shaped by this, you know. So I want to know how other people experience it in other religions too. um I don't know if you guys can read, or should I read it for you guys, like some parts of it, like what I have here, or give like a summary of this. What do you guys prefer?
Love to hear a summary.
A summary, okay. So basically, with this person, we spoke about how she felt like everything was either good or bad, you know, that now that she's not in the religion anymore, she still feels like that she's going to hell if she does something that was forbidden by the religion, you know. Like, for example, she says she doesn't eat pork because she likes pork, but she doesn't feel like she can eat pork because she will go to hell, you know. Or she cannot get her ears pierced because she will go to hell, even though she's not in the religion anymore. And also, she spoke of something that really resonated with me, that was that there was no responsibility in a way, you know. So if you do something good, that God did it for you, and if you do something bad, then uh it's the devil talking in your ear, you know. And I thought that was a very interesting concept. um that we as people then don't have as much responsibility, or we're not accountable for our own decisions and what we do, because there's this higher being that is making sure that I will be punished or not be punished, or yeah, that I because she says, like, when she does an exam, she has to pray before that, because if she prays, then she's gonna get a good grade, and that basically it was God who gave her. She did not accomplish it herself. So I thought it was a very weird but very interesting thing that someone can go through, you know. So then I'm gonna share a bit about my sketches and ideas that also changed a bit during the whole research part of this. I want to play this, but it doesn't want to play. Okay. Um, but yeah, so I because I kind of changed the focus so much into religion, because before I did not I could not connect all these things yet, and now that I can, I kind of also started researching altars, and specifically altars here in Curacao. So yeah, for example, the painting, the black and white one, with the drippings, that was blue before. It was blue before, and it had this kind of lady figure with the lights in it. I decided needed to be black and white, and I'm going to add like a shelf with salt and stuff, so it becomes an altar, and create a whole installation with that. So yeah, I feel like I've learned a lot um about myself, and that sometimes not everything has to be new, because I sometimes feel like I need to produce, but also the things that you have in your head and what you're doing is already enough sometimes, even when you don't know it. So yes, I think that, yeah, that's my presentation. I hope you guys understood what I wanted to say, and that you
Thank
have interesting things to feedback for me.
No, thank
Definitely.
you. Thank you very
Thank
much. Yes, we'll stop sharing and then we can see. Yeah, perfect. Yes, there are a couple of thoughts, but let me not go first. Who wants to react? Some thoughts. I must say that we do have to check the time because, of course, like for everyone to go ahead. So if we just help each other to keep track, and if somebody goes too long, we start doing crazy things on the screen. So we give each other a sign. But yeah, shoot, whoever wants to react.
I
Yes,
guess.
we always have to
No, no,
synchronize
please, please,
talk.
yes, yes, yes.
Yeah,
Say.
no, I guess I just wanted to respond to the blog. Your concern about organizing the ideas. I think one of the things that you could maybe accept is just that you have to, like with any research, you have to get all the ideas out. So it's like a stream of consciousness, anyways. And maybe the thing that could help to connect the research is if you set maybe, I know most blogs have a kind of description at the top. So you could set out, this is the objective, this is the concern, and this is the scope of what I want to explore, and then everything else is fine. You do whatever you like. Yeah.
Wow, thank you. That helps a lot. Helps a lot.
Yeah. Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So Gabrielle wanted to say something, and Lydia.
I'll go ahead. Question on what you thought about coming on to the end about the devil in the ear and God and stuff. I have to say that is I think it's kind of like a mindset that we as Caribbean people have, but because here it is kind of similar. Because
Mhm.
how to put it, we would say, "Oh, thank God for this, thank God for that," everything that we do, we would like, as you said before, it's not like our own responsibility for what we have and what we get or what goes wrong or anything like that. It's more like there's this higher kind of power controlling us or that is in charge of what we do and how I think that is how we are brought up and our like how you said before the ancestors and how what they went through, what they think, what they how that was like pushed upon us as people.
Mhm. I think that is very interesting and important what you're saying, everyone. I guess as women, for centuries, we've been pressured. We've lived our ancestors just as we're living now. Our it's part of who we are actually, who we are, but also what um, has been through the history of womankind, that we have been always pressured by the Catholicism. But I think, as you were asking yourself about other religions, I guess it's how do I say this? Um, Religion in general throughout the world um, have been giving women this difficulty to like this. I call it the suppression. I think is that a word, the right word? I think that we don't have the right to be who we really are, to be women. We are only as being women to bear child, to be a housewife, and even though when we go back, I guess most of you know also that through the history of art, you see that women were not, women were never in the picture. So that is also something that we have to look into it right now. Uh, that you see that that feeling that you have, that insecurity as a woman within you, as being a woman, as being who you are, as being part of your work. You're in that research and discovering who you really are as a woman. And as you will grow in, through the years, you will understand and you will see how that growth, how important is that. So I think it's so beautiful. You're young, you're entering that stage in your life, that important stage, and that you want to share it with other women, which is very important. And I feel, as a woman myself, that sometimes we question too much about what other women will think, or if the message comes across, but I think you're doing awesome, how you are programming it, how you're organizing yourself. And as I can tell you, the puzzle will fall into place. It will, because you're not doing this for, there's a reason for what you're presenting this work. And as that's what I see. It's beautiful.
Thank you.
Samuel, you have a
Yes. Well, I think the blog could be a good way to separate some concepts and some ideas. And I think you can understand your goals. It means that, for example, I saw the way that you divide three different situations. And I think that's, sorry about this. Oh, God. Okay. Okay, but the thing is that I think you have it. and at the same time you are working in your own pieces. You are trying to develop the way you share a message. But the blog, it could be a an interesting way to show the ideas behind the images in your work. That's what I can say. Yeah.
Well, I took out my notebook because I realized like there's too many things going through my head, and there, as everyone will talk, let me just write some keywords. Um, and I think when I heard you, most of these things are just notes, right? So you can throw them away, but there are also some questions and you can throw them away. But for me, it was like you have um, indeed what Onika said. I think that's a good when you indicate the goal, the purpose, if the description, and then that's it, and then you're free, and then it's clear what your intent is. But there is also this thing of in many in many works that we will make, usually the subjects are similar, so we will come back to the same things. So it could also be an exercise to just for yourself also decide like, okay, out of all this bunch, I'm gonna choose, and I'm gonna challenge myself and be like, okay, what is this one thing that I want to say, and just really make sure to work on this one thing. And like you said, you have all these production. It's not about the amount of productions, but to have this sense of like, okay, this attention to this one piece, that encompasses a research that is ongoing anyway, and it can develop differently in another work. um, I had to think about the responsibility that we have as opposed to, and yes, history is there. Yes, we have religion and we have all these forces, but we also have a lot of agency with it. So, and we act on that agency based on that responsibility. We do have and act on it, right? So, as yes, that is happening, there is also a push force. There's a force that pushes back or comes through in other ways. And maybe it's not, that doesn't say that it's not disturbing and it doesn't exist, but and not also not acknowledging that can be a particular way of neglect. And then it made me think of not in terms of positivity, but more in opportunity and to the search for balance. I think because as you were talking about getting to know yourself, it's also like, what did you enjoy? What are because if you only the embarrassment or the negative side, to come to out of it, you need to explore the other side as well. So and if you stay in there, then yeah, you do address the thing, but then you haven't um, you are
Process.
not also working on getting out, which is also one of your aims. So then the discovery of pleasure, the discovery of love, or whatever, that those are also part of it. And then it made me think on the materiality of your work, of your installations, because black and white, salt, charcoal, those are also a lot of marked materials, right? That already have a particular language and that already uses. So that is also, in which way are you, in your choice of materials, are you also breaking and breaking those codes that kind of inherit with materiality. Like it's okay, it's not to, yeah, we're Caribbean, so to use color, but to be like, okay, black and white, but what could, is that, if you can't choose black and white, what would be the other color to use? For instance, when you think of your teenage years of coming of age, or something like that, what are the as opposed to salt, you know? So those are some of the ideas that I had when hearing you talk. And like I said, you can throw it all in a bin. But I think it's awesome, and you have a lot of material, and you're doing really good. I think it's just continuing, and I mean sessions like these, but also having to need to talk to people about your work, but also presenting your work pushes you further to rework all these material that you are accumulating already.
Mhm.
Well, thank you very much. All of this helped a lot, a lot. Yeah.
Um, so let's see. First, I feel like sometimes I'm a boss and can pick someone and I'm like this free bird who's like whoever very democratically.
Yeah, because be a boss. I'll take it.
uh, Go ahead, Anika.
I spoke myself into that. Okay, so let's see. I wrote some points. Let's see if I can remember what you said. Um, so we have the background. I'm gonna share my screen. Let's see, share screen. Okay. All right. Is that visible? Maybe I should share this. Yeah, I think. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So this is the right screen. So my proposal really was, I'm not doing a PowerPoint, I'm just having some browser windows open. So my project has not happened yet, but I'll tell you a little background to it. No. So the thing that I'm exploring is called the personal storytelling tool number one. And I connect so much to everything that everyone is saying because it's really about this change and understanding myself, understanding the community. But it really started this year. There was a residency I did called Homo Sargassum, which asked us to look at the ecological issues in the Caribbean to do with the sargassum, the seaweed that's kind of taking over in certain islands. And so I knew at that point I wanted to use this was, after I was describing that crisis that we had about coming off of the hamster wheel of production, um, of making these materials and making these things for exhibition after exhibition. And I knew with this, since I had the support of the Tumon Foundation, that I would use it as a chance to just go back to something basic like drawing, something basic like just collaborating and telling a story. And so I connect to Samuel's ideas and everyone else's in this because I think in the years that we've been on COVID, I've started to understand how story and storytelling is really important for transformation, because sometimes we tell this like a false story, right? And then we believe the false story, and then that can limit us in the way that we tell this story. And sometimes you don't even realize you're telling yourself this story, or we're telling ourselves a story as a group for so many years. And so it was a kind of big realization for me. And I started to understand that through something like ecology, right? You're never going to get people to understand the impact of the environment if they don't understand themselves, if they don't understand the history and the place, because then the environment is just like your body. It's not important. It's just something that happened to be in this place. So through that residency, I thought, okay, I'm going to break. I'm going to change the way that I used to approach art, which is very individualistically. So I have my project and I do my project and I realize my project. I changed it to, I wanted to collaborate with Caribbean artists coming out of the spirit of Uniarte and Caribbean Linked and other great projects. I wanted to have a way of working with other artists. So I chose three other artists that I kind of just I followed them on Instagram. I met them and I like something in their work appeals to me. And what I noticed is I could find 3 other artists who were exploring the black silhouette of the Afro-Caribbean body. And so I chose these artists is Philip Thomas and Mafalda Mondestine. Philip is from Jamaica, Mafalda is from Haiti, and Luigi Savon, who is from Martinique. And I took the chance to do something digital and virtual. And so I asked them to contribute 2 images from theirs. I took it and I redrew these images in my language. And I was working initially with them on a film, which is still in production, but I started to realize that I talked about experience before, that experience is really important. And one of the ways is this kind of sensory experience that video can give, but there's also the experience of interaction and connection that something like a card game can give. And it's not technological the way that video is or digital video is. It's just like paper, like printed paper. And so this is how personal storytelling tool came about. And I did a workshop in, I have an initiative myself called Tide Rising Art Projects, and we organized a exhibition in New York in the summer. And I used that chance to also meet with people in the space just to test out this, this card game, this card device, which it really just asks people like, who are you? What are you doing here? Tell this story, choose some cards. It's very basic questions, very simple questions. But it's interesting that what I found out is that people were, some people felt attacked by those questions because you go your whole life and you never ask that question of yourself. So that is the background of it. And then also the other thing was people kept asking me, when are the cards available? How can I work with them? Can you do a workshop? I didn't intend it as that. I meant it as like something for me and a way for me to work with people, but it's just like spiraled. And so then the call came up for Uniarte, and I thought this is a perfect opportunity to use this online space. And so what has happened in the process is I have done this blog, which is now like the homepage for this project. And we have a space now since getting the call. I set up a space where people can book a session, and also you can, well, it's about to open where you can access this tool. Also, I have worked on a YouTube page where there's some documentation of how you use the cards and how people have used them, and also some of the private sessions. We have the workshop is coming up, so that was what I proposed, is to do a workshop online, virtually, with a small number of people. We have set up the Eventbrite session, and we're having people, I just launched that yesterday, I think, and so people are registering. And then, so this is what I posted on Instagram, just so that it's here in my video documentation while I'm talking. But the workshop is going to look at the card tool as, it's going to introduce it, but it's also going to work with the group of people that attend to work through the exercise of there are 11 cards that give a question, ask a question, and then there are 41 cards that have images, these combined images of all the artists. And the idea is that I will be walking people through a process of self-inquiry. But it's really for people to engage with it. I've also come up with, in the time, I've come up with 6 exercises that you can, 6 different ways that you can use this tool for yourself and for groups. So really, when the advice was given about performance, I really took that on board as well, because my work has never been really interactive or engaging in that kind of intimate, connective way. And so I also have these doubts, how do I actually interact with people? And what I think I took some of the advice I gave Gabrielle on board is I just do it one-on-one with people now until I get used to it. And so I think I'm just at the point where I can do, a workshop with people. And so we'll see how it goes next Saturday, and see how far, because my idea is that if I can use something like this to offer workshops and offer opportunities to engage, and still I'm also bringing the research of all these Caribbean artists with me, but I'm also allowing people to engage with art in a very ordinary way, but hopefully the ordinary can be meaningful for them and for me as well. So I think that's what I have to say. Yeah. I will stop sharing the screen.
Thank you, Onika. I must say, one of my just the first question was in terms of how do you present such a experience at the end? But I will leave it. I will.
Yeah, no, I forgot to say that actually, because Matilde dos Santos, who I was working with in the residency, was telling me about this museum in Brazil, Museu da Passau, which it presents stories, and this is a major part of the project that I didn't mention, but the idea is whoever is amenable to presenting their story, one, I would hope to record the story, and um, my cat is my cat is in front of the camera. Yeah, so whoever is okay to record the story, I would record it and hopefully have an archive so that we can learn from our stories together. And two, there are several people asking me how to do a workshop using it for other people, and so we can share our own ways of doing the workshops. So that's really the hope, is that it can be this big resource of people. I don't know if that answers like a question.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Definitely. Let's Samuel, what is your first reaction?
Okay, my first reaction is that, okay, Onika, congratulations, because you have an amazing work. I really like. Right now, I'm in your Instagram. Yeah.
Thank you.
And I really like the way that you build your own narratives, and at the same time you are using different mediums. For example, I have been checking the cards, and I think it could be an interactive way to understand a message, or maybe to create a connection with the people who is watching the video. Just imagine that you create a performance where everybody can make their own story using the cards. That could be super nice.
Yeah.
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 And just imagine if you collect all those stories, you can make something else. Maybe you can make a
Yeah.
book, for example,
Yeah.
with all that stories. But this is just an idea. It's your
No,
work.
it's great.
It's
It's
super
a
good.
great idea.
Gabrielle?
I think that this is a really fun and engaging and informative kind of way to explore your idea of learning more about each other and the artists involved. And I think, like, I would like to be a part of it somehow.
Of course, you're welcome. The workshop is next week. You can still register, so please do.
Cool. So it's through the Instagram link, right?
Yeah, in my profile in Instagram, there's the Eventbrite. Yeah.
Cool. You should also post it on Uniarte Instagram. So
Okay.
we'll see.
Yes.
We'll contact you to see how
Okay.
to promote that to get that going.
Yeah.
Anyone else would like to? Visually or
Yes, can I say? Oh my God, I'm so inspired by this. I think it's so beautiful and wow, I'm so like, yeah, it's very, very beautiful. And I already like want to ask you for a collaboration with the Writers Collective, like if we can do like a costume workshop with them. And I'm already going to tell the like we have a core team and then we have the rest of the writers who come to the writing sessions. So I'm already going to tell them to be at the workshop so we can experience it and then we can share it with the rest. So
That's
yeah, I would
amazing.
love it if we can do a collaboration. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna send you an email for sure.
Yes. Thank you.
Cool.
It's interesting. It's a very beautiful work, and I like the what you illustrated behind of it, and the context in front. Do they all match what is written in the cards?
What I did, so I could have, there's some choices I made. I chose not to number them, so that you don't have like an order, and it's more abstract. Some are more recognizable, like, some you can see a whole figure, but some of them are just portions of these images from the film. And so some are much more abstract, some are, you can recognize something, to try to encourage a different type of approach. Sometimes things are vague and sometimes things are more easily identifiable. I don't know. Did I answer?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
interesting.
Thank
It's interesting.
you.
I
I would
really like.
love to hear your tips on engagement.
Uh, I really, really think that cards can be very mystical sometimes because it feels like they always bring questions to our answers to our questions.
Mm,
Especially you see that there are a lot of different kind of cards, but also I guess it's a way for us to. I feel sometimes it's like a reminder to what we already know, but
mm-hmm.
we're sometimes we get this, we get distracted, or we like, for example, we don't trust our intuition,
Yeah.
and or we don't trust what we feel, or what we want, or desires, or anything that's we get involved in, or how we think, or as women, we have different, for example, I'm just mentioning a small example. In my case, I'm also a woman, I'm an artist, I'm a mother. We have different, uh, how do you say that, we have different tasks, or I don't know how we can say it
Yeah.
in a different. And sometimes we don't know if we're doing the right things, or we're not sure if we are being the right mother, we're taking the right decisions for ourselves, for our families, and so forth. So it's a beautiful thing. It could be, I don't know, I don't know how you want to present that as a way, I don't want to call it a game, because it's not a game, it's a reality actually,
Mm-hmm.
that are experiencing it, but how you want to transfer it to the
Yeah.
spectators, to the people that you want to share this with.
Yeah.
I think and from one to one,
Mm-hmm.
so it could become something huge, like that's a performance on itself. That it's a
Yeah.
dialogue, and I love that.
Yeah.
To be filmed, presented like that, it's a performance, it's a video, it could be a video art. you know it's very interesting, I really like that.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much to think about. Good advice.
I think one of the the cards have questions on it, but yeah, in terms of engagement, I was wondering if the instruction, it's a matter of how do you instruct this and to start the experience. Do you have any thoughts on how to give instructions? How you would give the instructions to people? Maybe that's to have an idea of an instruction.
Yeah. I'm actually working on. I think I set myself the task of trying to do the guidebook, which would be a much bigger thing. I don't think it can hold in the inside the card box. So I'm hopefully also wanting to collect from everybody that uses it. What is their way? Like, what is Karen's way, or what is John's way? And so we have like maybe even a thick guidebook that everybody can get. So yeah, all of these things are things I have to think about and plan. Yeah.
It'd be nice to
I asked
participate. Yes, definitely.
I ask a question.
Yeah.
Do you consider it a very individual and personal thing, or more of a group kind of thing? Like when you have this card in front of you, is it something that you share with everybody, or is it something that you keep for yourself and it's like a reflection moment?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think when I made it, I started the intention really was I used to work with myself through COVID because of the difficulty with cards on my own, other people's cards. And then, so I thought, well, I'll make one for myself because I can see like my Caribbean feeling in the cards rather than other cards that come from the West, or I don't really relate. There are always a lot of different cultures, but not mine, and so um, if I started using it as really, okay, maybe I can use it for journaling or reflection, or if I do work with people, I could work with one person because that is my personality. I'm better one-on-one. But it seemed like I started doing the workshops with people and they started asking about doing it with groups. There's one person now that she wants to plan something she did the personal workshop and then she wants to do her own in New York, and it's looking like she wants to use it more as a group tool. So I think it's suitable for however your personality and your scope of it, how you envision that. I'm hoping it's open enough for that, to allow for that. Yeah.
I also hear a challenge for you, Unika, in terms of group or individual. I don't know. I hear a stretching.
Yeah. No, it's both is fine. I think it's because sometimes if you do a workshop, like right now, I work with a workshop of high school students. It's gonna be like 6 people, and they would not have the facility to do one-on-one. So then, if I work with them, it has to be in groups. So yeah.
Maybe this will inspire you to continue, create more or different or expanding it. But what do you
Yeah.
think of that?
Yeah. No, it's great, and I'm loving the opportunity to explore it here. Yeah.
Just a little thought that I really liked when you explained about using other people's cards. It's difficult. It's beautiful because maybe it's needed. I think it is needed for, I guess, for the people who like to use different kinds of cards, and I'm one of those people too. And it's hard to find. I listen to you and I listen to myself, and I'm like, of course, we come from the Caribbean. It seems like that it doesn't exist. So maybe your cards, it's like a start as the beginning. That it's interesting what you said about the different kinds and the West, and so something I think to think about. I think
Yeah.
that that we can, yes, I mean, it's that connection that we're looking for, and sometimes you don't find it.
Mm-hmm. No, so much to think
About
about.
that. Yes, it's beautiful.
I think I stumbled on something by massive by accident.
Make sure you
Awesome.
jot down all your notes and sketches and put copyright on it as soon as possible.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Mm. Oh,
Nice.
cool. Let's go, Samuel. Do you have something to share in terms of your process?
Yes, well, uh, I was thinking, I'm gonna use this opportunity to try to solve a problem in my process. The thing is that I produce very, very fast, uh, and sometimes it's difficult for me to create a connection or maybe create a dialogue between different pieces. I'm gonna show the screen. I have it's not a presentation, it's just a file. Uh, yes, entire screen. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, super. Well, the thing is that I went to Amsterdam a few weeks ago, as I mentioned in during the presentation, the first presentation, and well, the thing is that I spoke with a lot of people from different countries, and I tried to collect stories during that research, and I produced a group of watercolors paintings. Um, One of my desires was work in ceramics too, but for me it's very difficult because I'm learning. Uh, I'm learning how to make ceramics. The thing is that well, I make this. Sorry. Okay, I make this watercolor. It's about an accident that happened in the early 90s in the Bilmer area, the place that I visited during the art residency. And here we can see a tree and a group of people that looks like the people that used to live there. And for me, it's interesting how some natural figures are connected with religion and but at the same time are connected with mysticism. I don't know if that works in English, but what I'm trying to say is that I really like the way that some Caribbean stories use nature as a way to connect people from different generations. It means, for example, in some stories, some tribes used to put gifts or candles or food as a way to connect with the past. And for example, every time that we go to a museum and we see a piece of art or we see an ancient object, that object it's related with the pass of time. And for me, that's the an object can be the connection between past and future and how different generations learn about that. But well, I'm gonna continue. Uh, as I mentioned, well, the thing is that for me it's super difficult to explain my work because yes, I use different references. I every time that I visit a place, I try to speak with the community. But at the same time, for me, I work in different mediums as paintings or drawings and ceramics. But for me, it's very difficult to give to offer a sense or maybe to understand some symbols that I always that I use many ways many times. Sorry. Well, the thing is that here I made a text trying to explain the story on this drawing, and then I continue to working in some paintings, explaining how these paintings I related with some ideas. For example, I'm very interested in Carl Jung's anima concept, and at the same time, how that concept is connected with some religious goddess. For example, in this case, on this painting, we can see that there is a blue woman, and if you live in the Caribbean, you can see that, for example, we have different beliefs, and sometimes that beliefs are part of local imaginary to create a sense of purpose. And for me, that's very interesting too. What else? Well, this it's another drawing. It's about how the power has a specific way to deal with the people. You know, for example, I think we're living a very violent moment in the human story. Right now, we are not. It's not like the World War, but it's more like, you know, the way that the power treat the people. It's more violent because I think we have a short memory, and you know, if you check in the recent story, we can see how, for example, the police or how different groups are killing people. And you know, I think in this moment we are surrounded of a lot of information, but there is no narratives. It means that we have a short sense of memory, and that's a problem for me. What else? Well, this painting, it's about a Caribbean story about how the African gray parrot became an African gray parrot. Uh, this it's about the person that lives in the Bilmer, the area that I visited. I saw a guy speaking with his phone and talking about a bird singing contest, and I discovered that it's a popular practice in Suriname and in some islands, and that was very interesting for me. Here we can see the details. It looked like he's, you know, well, it's not an iPhone, but it's a cell phone. Yes, you can see the antenna. Okay, let me. Oh, no, error, mistake. Uh, no. Okay, I have some problems here. Let me try to go to. Okay, I'm
Take
gonna
your time.
stop. Yes, yeah, yes. I'm gonna stop to share the screen 1 second, and I will open the file again. But what I'm trying to say is that I have a lot of problems trying to create projects, because yes, I have a lot of pieces, but I need to work in my narratives, and at the same time I need to discover my own goals. Um, and for example, I think that if you are going to work in a specific theme, you need to discover the right tools to explain your own language. And that's what I'm doing with this blog. I want to separate some ideas in my work. That's it. But let me try to find the presentation, and we're finished with this. Okay. Okay, I just can't. I have problems with my computer, but I don't know if you have any suggestion about how create a blog and how discover symbols in your own language. Yeah, that's it.
Do you have your camera? Somehow I can't see you. Can
Yes,
any?
I'm here again. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. There you go. Yeah. Okay. Great. Who? Gabrielle?
I think your art is more like how you say how nature is used to connect different people. I think your art is just like that, and it's a way for people to make their own kind of like narratives and stuff. Um, as it pertains to making a blog, I also have that same question. Um, that I forgot to ask before. So yeah.
Visually?
Mm, I think maybe we can go to the answer that I got from what is it? Onika?
Onika, yeah.
Onika? Okay, I was afraid.
I know.
Yeah. I think we can go back to the answer that Onika gave me to like kind of make an overall statement and then just put the rest. Because maybe that is the question you state in the blog, like how to make connections. And then you just try to find the connections in the blog instead of like trying to find the connection before making the blog. Don't know if it makes sense.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
got
yeah,
it?
yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Monica?
Yeah, I love the paintings. Um, and the drawings are very engaging. It took me by surprise because when you described what you were wanting to do with these archetypes, I don't know, I just had a different vision. But I think the way that your drawings take shape, it can live more imaginatively because it's almost like a cloud or a dream, or it's very light. It's like a collective, all these little bits of things. And so that makes me think about if I were to look at a blog by you and I wanted to find your research and explore it, I would love to see all the elements that go into the making of one of those very dense drawings. It's like this little bird. There's like many birds on that pink painting, but I would love to know, like, for Samuel, what is putting that one bird on the side? What is that bird doing different from the bird under it? And when you put them at the edge over the color into the border, what does that mean? So almost it's like you would be telling us through your visual language what you'd be creating a kind of language for us for what you saw, is how I would really love to engage with any of your research. Yeah.
Thank you.
Can I add something to that? Because, like she's saying about the purpose of the one bird in one place, but also like the story. Because when you told the story of this man talking about this bird show, it gives it so much life. Like not that on its own that it cannot live, but it makes it so much more beautiful. Um, and then maybe the idea of just exploring more men that talk on the phone about this contest, or imagining how this contest would be. Maybe you don't go, but in your head then you imagine how it would look like, and then make a painting for that, for example. And then maybe that is the connection, maybe just one painting and then digging deeper into that one painting and creating more, maybe.
Yeah, 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 yeah. It's valid. It's valid. Yes, of course. Thank you.
Lydia?
Well, I have to say that I went to see Samuel at the student visit here in Amsterdam when he was here, and it was a beautiful visit because it was very colorful, and the paintings were the sizes that I mean bigger than what we see right now, and it was very moving because it made me really wanted to see them move, to have that that sense of like a film, you know. It will turn into from a book. I mean, I guess each painting will be a smaller version of, I mean, a small book, like a booklet or a book with its own story, or even without any writing in it. But it's just like books that you can create your own story in your mind. And from there, I also saw like video, you know, like a film. They will move, they will become another story, or you know, they will connect, emerge. So it was very beautiful to see that in person, and how you explained each one work. He explained about the birds, and also the different people, if they were people or not, or they were spirits, or they, you know. So it's very interesting how you are inculcating, como tú dices en inglés?
Incorporate.
Incorporate, thank
Incorporate.
you. Incorporate your messages through each one of the like symbol, the archetypes that you use, um, which are very connected to, I guess, all of us, the Caribbean, you know, the rituals, the saints. It's a big story, and almost seems like you're creating new stories. So who knows, you know, what will uh, emerge from this. How do you feel? May I ask you, how do you feel now? Uh, may I ask, how do you feel now that you're back home after this
Well,
long journey?
I think it was a nice experience, but now I think I need time to, to create a narrative with all those pieces,
Mhm.
because I just, for example, I just speak with a person and I decide to make a drawing, and then I just find a story in a book, and I created another painting, and it was a very intense process. But now I really like to show those pieces as probably I just wanted to tell a single story, or maybe a narrative with that, my own story about the first time that I visited the Netherlands and how I connect with some people there. I think it's interesting, but I think I need to make some research, because I took a lot of reference that are not mine, and I really I really want to discover the images behind those short tales, or maybe behind the different cultures that gave me the opportunity to use their narratives. Yes, basically that. Yeah.
Nice.
Cool. So Mo, I also visited you as you were happened to be there, and this idea of storytelling that you also mentioned, you know, how important that is for you. I think again, notes, and you can see if they fit or not, right? So the descriptive way of I reached the Belmer, I saw this tree, and I took, you know, like those is you can also see in how detailed your work is. Like Onika mentions, I also see you creating other story, but really telling it as a story that pertains to the subject that keeps recurring in your. So let's say each of your painting is a chapter in itself, right? And a chapter can be a sequence of what the previous chapter, but it can also start on something new, right? So it can also, you can also, so then there is a coherence with the whole book, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't mean necessarily that each chapter is chronologically or is following one to the other. So I think I imagine a book, because also Onika mentioned about the grammar. Um, So thinking of it like that to give you a bit more room, to allow yourself to see what emerges after studying all the works that you made there. um, I also this aspect of collaboration, not only because that's, I think that would be interesting, but in terms of writing with writers and how the storytelling could emerge by your story, and how that, what type of text can accompany your work, and try to see how different texts can engage with your work, because it would be a shame. In a way, it's very nice for a blog to see all the details and have an explanation um, for it, but at the same time, it's like, do you have to explain everything as well? So it's all that debatable. But let's say if indeed the birds, but that comes back in other literature, or in a totally different author that comes back, because your language is the painting, and then that could just be accompanied by another piece of work.
Mm-hmm.
So that, and the other thing I have is indeed the production is a lot. But if you have to choose one painting out of all that you created in 2-3 months time, which one would it be? You know, the blog could also be about this one painting that like, I mean, and talk, just thinking in terms of pushing ourselves, and like, and challenging, like, if you made 20, if you have to choose only one, and what would Samil's story be of that one painting, no? That is also in itself, because it contrasts how you normally work, and it will make you engage differently with your work, because you had to exclude and then create a narrative for only one, or something like that, no? So those are some of the things that
Thank you.
I also have a question for you. You don't have to answer it now, but maybe it's just to think about it, because you said that you had this moment where you have a conversation with someone, or you see someone and you want to kind of record, let's say, record that moment in life, let's say so, right? And then now you want to go and maybe research more of the story of these people.
Mm-hmm.
And then my question for you is, do you need to go search for more, or is this moment enough for you? Because this moment was beautiful in its own, on its own. And do you need the rest to connect, or is this moment enough for you? So that's just the question I have. You don't have to answer.
No, no, it's a
Right.
it's a good question. For example, for me, I think I have the capacity to appreciate a moment, but at the same time, if I research more about the environment, or maybe about the story of a place, and I can find more links, and probably I can understand other things that are behind or under that moment. Because, for example, sometimes you go to a place and you are eating some food, and you said, okay, yes, the food is good, the company, the you sharing with, we are sharing with another people, and it's nice. But probably if you get it, this is just an example, if you get information about why they are cooking the food, or how they produce their food, or maybe is that food had a relation with the weather, or probably why are they wearing that type of clothes. I think I can give a new perspective to my own vision, a deeper perspective. Yes, I appreciate all the moments, but I want to get more information. It's necessary for me.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. Lydia, you have an exhibition, so technically it's a space that will now have to translate itself in a blog post, so tell us, what do you have for us?
I hope I can work with this. To share the screen, let me see. Ay, Dios, I need to find it. 1 second. One moment. No, second. Yeah. Can you see something? No, really? No? Let me share you. Let me share
Yeah.
it
Do you
now.
see a picture?
Yes. Can you see a little bit of it?
Mm-hmm.
Yes? No? 1 second. Sorry. Okay. Ablit? It's good. It's good. Can you see a little bit of it? Yes? Okay. For this exhibition, I've chosen 10 different photographies, actually based on different themes and the concept, because of the historical part. Actually, it's interesting how it started, because I have, since last year during the COVID, there were different events, manifestations, different things going on the island. And it affected, really, really affected me in some ways. And also reading some books about the historical, the cultural heritage and the historical parts of during the times of the colonization. And so, for example, this work is part of a series of 3, which I'm going to show you. This is called Descending. It represents my part of my DNA, part of my connection with my ancestors, my Indian. The thing is, I did a DNA test, and it's different. I have different kinds of indigenous native in my DNA, and the biggest part was I had in the Amazon. It was almost like 28 something percentage, and also connects with other parts of my family. So it's very, very, for me, it's still a little bit difficult to figure out some of my interests, some of my family history, which is part of what I'm gonna, the research that I'm starting with. This new part it's called the New Era of Recollection. And Descending is part of my experience of last year, trying to do some inner work as an individual, trying to figure out certain things, why I do certain, why do I react a certain way, why sometimes I feel like, some fear, some different qualities, different archetypes of my being, and also trying to connect with Earth, with that they're trying to find that balance within, but also remind me of the historical part of from when the Spaniards came in the 1515 on the island. They destroyed the Caiquetío, when they were just approaching the pinnacle of their cultural development, you know, their way of life. And it's been, I mean, if you read about it, you know, it came to an extinction. And that for me was very, it was, you know, I mean, for a clan or for a tribe to come to an extinction, it's something that's very difficult to come, you know, to accept. I think. I mean, it's been happening all around the world, and that connection, I guess, in my new era of recollection, I want to start connecting those different parts, so different, like relocating it geographically. I mean, as we see that during the times of the colonization, all the history is written from one perspective. It's not written from, you know, you don't hear much about the other side, especially also when we're talking about, you know, the history of, you know, the what's been happening, you know, the history of the yes, to starting from Africa, coming all the way down to the Caribbean. So I do want to remind myself about the spirit. This is called the Caribbean spirit, Espíritu Caribeño, which represent that indigenous part of me, but also that multicultural part that's also, you know, that inherited part from those different places in the world, where I come from to where I ended up, and it's on the island of Aruba. But it's funny because now I'm back in the European continent, so it feels like I'm in a search of that kind of perspective, you know, idea, and how I feel about it. This work, this part is the third part of that sequence. This picture was taken one day before I was coming back to Holland, and it's at the chapel in Alto Vista on the island. And Alto Vista Chapel is a very old chapel. And in that area, at that chapel, a lot of indigenous Kaikatio, and you know, we also have the Arawak. So, you know, there's a lot of stories about in that time, and until a certain time in history, they rebuilt the chapel. And I felt that because of a lot of events happen in that area, they found also graveyards. And I mean, they're still trying to archaeologically, in the archaeological aspect, to find more about it. And it feels like the history has a long way to go. You know, it's still in the research, and there's not much written in books about it. You know, it's all about the stories and all about the other side. They only can find some answers through the archaeological in the findings. But this part was so that day was it was in a second. I had to do this because this chapel, Alto Vista, in the mornings very early, people go there and they take walks, or they go there and they go and they you know, they sit at that chapel and they pray, or they go for, you know, they do some offerings with candle, etc. But I went there very early, but still it was not early, because people go there just, you know, to do their ritual, to go there early in the morning. So when I got there, and there was this person working there he works there every morning, you know, cleaning up, making all nice for people to go there to sit. So when I arrived there, I told him, you know, I know him, and I'm like, you know, I want to take some pictures. But he said, but you have to be very fast and you have to have clothes on. And I'm like, I know. So it was in one moment, this friend of mine, I was like, all these ruffles that I have, it's plastic. It's like those ruffles that you when the kids have to do their first communion, you get these ruffles that you put around the tables. They decorate with them. So I had that. Somewhere I found it, and I was like, I really wanted to put it on. I wanted to, representing that part that, that during those times that, those natevano falci, so they used to wear those big, how do you call them, color, full of white. And I was like, and I had that crucifixion, and I was like, I wanted, it's that representation of, because of the colonization, the extension, it came to that part. So it was like a reminding of that moment. And I don't know where I don't know if I do have ancestors there, but I had that feeling. I wanted to really make that happen. So when we were video, because I have a small video about that video art, and taking some pictures, somebody came there and walked to me, and then he said, like, what are you doing here? This is the house of God, and why are you doing this? I'm like, I'm also I'm also a kid of God, but I want to, there's something that needs to be said. There's something needs to be told, and then he kept staring at me, and then he walked away. And then it reminded me that some of the story is not being told. And as part of my background is native from the area of South America, from the Brazil, but I also have other parts natives from India. It's a big melting pot. What comes back into my DNA, and I feel like it represents all of it. So I feel like this is just the beginning of it, and so this is one small part of the series. This is some of the other photography, like this one, is trying to find some guidance in my own way of and perspective of the island. It's like I feel, because I left Aruba in 2018 with my husband and kids, because I felt that things were not going well in the arts, and that the platform that we created for ourselves, was shaking, was moving. We felt like we had to move out. We had to continue going out there, to try to figure out really what a career in the arts is, and how to live from it, because on the island you cannot live from only the arts. And I mean, my work is also had to do with teaching, but for me that was not enough. I wanted to really concentrate on creating work. And so it's like that part of that, trying to figure out, trying to create new work, and trying to take with me what I, carry with me, take with me what I've created, what the platform, everything that I built there, to take it with me, what I can, and then move on. So, and also there's a lot that happened with the work with the Aruban perspective of the arts, and how the artists on the island don't get support of the government. But the truth that I'm saying is that there's a lot that doesn't make sense in terms of cultural and art itself, that they need each other, they support each other, the culture and art. And so it's been very interesting, that whole ay, no tiene más, no? Okay, no, there's more, but I guess for the presentation I will show that to you. I have a small, sorry, yeah,
Share the screen. You wanna show another, or otherwise stop the.
no, I don't I don't have any more right now here, but
And
for the
you stop
presentation,
the screen share, then we can see you better. We can see
yeah,
you back your face.
sorry. Where is it? I can find it here. Yeah. Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. You can see me now? Okay. Yeah. So, but the 2 months that I was back home, because at the beginning of the year, I wanted to present, I just wanted to go home and for 2 months and just create an exhibition. It's something that I've never done before, as a solo, as a beginning. And I was like, I'm just jumping in it. I just don't care. And people would think that I would be only creating performances and dance. So it was a big challenge for me to work with certain objects, finding some of the objects, but also making macrame, which certain processes I went through because of my childhood, because so it was like it's kind of like a research within myself, and trying to bring it in a concept that internally was very like enriching, like trying to come to certain closures within my own self and my peers, and with the work, with the arts on the island. Some of the work really had to do with also with the machismo, with the government not really listening to the people, listening to community, what their needs, their problems. And also it was interesting because for a year I've been collecting newspapers, and my mom would send me newspapers from Aruba, different newspapers, and I cut them, the titles, and made it long, we said it like full, like all, um, um, we said it like manung slinger, como tu manung slinger, man in a long.
Like those decoration pieces that would be like hanging.
Like those parties, looks like parties, and like a party, and I wrap it all around me, and it looked like a carnival costume. I think some islands in the Caribbean, they wear all these big costumes, and it has a lot of I know that some of you and from the islands do that a lot, and you cannot see that person. You only see that big, beautiful. That also inspired me because the carnival is a very important matter. It's a very important event that represents Aruba. But with this costume, it was all the titles from all the different problems that was going on the island, and events, and Holland, and the Caribbean. The external, the reaction and action from both sides. So it's interesting, my work and research about the process of the work itself. How am I going to present the work, in which context, or with what kind of material? It's not what one kind of material, or it's not a painting, but it could be anything. It's like, you turn into something, you decide, okay, I created this together with my father and my husband, this big, it was like a box, but made out of metal, iron. And in there, I did some performances. It had to do with child abuse, and also women in displacement, You know, it all comes back to those social, those social distortions. You know, that it's not only part. It doesn't happen only on the island. It happens everywhere, and it doesn't get the needed attention. So I'm
Maybe
also. It's a lot.
yeah,
Sorry.
there is indeed. No, no, it's okay. Um, Let me jump in and maybe kind of is there a particular so as you did and you're describing the process of moving back and going back to Aruba, creating a solo exhibition, which is a different way of working and engaging with materials. Even though I think in your performances, because I've seen some of your performances or I know a bit of your work, you have always engaged with materials. I mean, you kind of you do search and have a conversation with the body and those objects, either objects or um, um, material. But now, as you're moving and creating new bodies of works, what is your challenge at the moment?
I guess the challenge is trying to put every idea or maybe a concept to be not. For example, I got some feedback because I'm always up for that. I'm always interested. It's very important because this is actually, it is new for me, and it's a challenge. And it's interesting how I want to pinpoint all these different matters because I see that there's so much problems, so much as you open. Let's see, like you open a newspaper and there's so much going on, and you don't know where to put your focus in. You know, so that is my challenge right now, to work on these different teams on them. Yeah. So one team or one concept. I mean, one team can become one concept. You know what I mean? So I need to focus on that, and then, but I think the challenge is that the things that I want to build or to make, I want to learn to make them myself. So, but for example, I want to work with different kind of materials, textile, and I always like textile, and also plaster. Or so that is a challenge for me, that certain objects I want to create, to be part of the performance and also to be standing as an installation. For example, I was just at the Biennale, Mykonos Biennale, also together with Samuel. We were there for 10 days, and then for that Biennale, it was very experimental, and I created this costume, this work that is actually an installation after. And I created that with macrame because my grandmother used to make big pieces when I used to be little. I used to go to stay at her house, and you know, you get that smell, and the whole place is with full of that thread, and I used to help her, and I forgot that. All of a sudden, you know, you don't see that anymore, and you don't. And I came across that thing, and I started to make it, and I know you can make anything with it. And I was like, you know, if I'm gonna do a performance, and if I have to open this Biennale, I have to make my own costume. I have to create this own thing. So that was the challenge for me, and to bring something of the island and to bring it to this other island, a Mediterranean island, and we have a lot of in common. So, you know, to put some pieces, some water, some salt water, some aloe, some herbs, to create things, like create some plaster with forms, with symbols. So it becomes very symbolic. The work is also, for me, it's also a spiritual process. And how do I cope with that? As I hear, yes, as I hear your these different concept and different ideas, and religion and Christianity, and you know, how the pressure about, you know,
Yeah.
that you cannot, as women, you're not supposed to do this. You're supposed to be, you know. And I'm like, we're not supposed to do anything. You can be anything. If somebody would ask me, what can you make? Who can you be? What you can, whatever, you know, you can be anything. You can make anything.
Okay.
You can create it. So that
Sorry.
and that is a challenge.
Yeah. So on that note, I'm gonna ask and invite for everybody to say anything to Alidia in this moment in her journey, and as a reaction, and for her to take with from the pictures, some beautiful pictures. Thank you for sharing those. And I it was interesting to see the similarities of how we started with Gabrielle and how she showed her paintings, and to end with Alidia, and certain similarities. It's quite, yeah, it's really interesting how that kind of emerged, different islands, and you would say different backgrounds and another generation even, and so something to take with. But yeah, let me hear, Gabrielle, what did you think of seeing or hearing Alidia, and what would you say to her?
So Lydia, I think, in terms of creating and stuff with different materials and objects, like how she said she wanted to experiment more, I think she should do that, experiment more with like different materials, and it probably won't turn out correct in the first time, but in the end, you probably will learn something from what mistake or something that you made. Also, I love the painting, not the painting, sorry, I love the photos that were shown. And I have a question. If you didn't leave Aruba, do you still think that you would be making the art that you made today? And another question is, if wait, I wrote it down. Right. Has anyone ever interrupted your performance to the point that it made turned you off or made like you stop filming or taking photos or anything like that?
You know, it's interesting what you're asking me, because I'm gonna make a long story very short for you. There's some pictures that I haven't showed you, um, and for example, it's with the small flags around me, and they end. There's a part in my mouth, and I have a short video art that we made, and I was supposed to get some fundings for these photographies, and they were very, very strict about it, because they said I'm disrespecting the flags, I'm opening my legs, I'm all naked, so all these things I had to go through, and they wanted to censor my work, and I had to show them all these 10 photographies before I would get an answer. So even on the day before the exhibition, my photographs were not ready. 5 were ready, and so, because I had to, at the end, I had to, we had to pay them ourselves for this exhibition. I didn't make any money yet. I didn't. We just had to pay our own, to pay these photographies and all these things. A lot has happened, and but I think the message was clear. But I was very, it was very disappointing, the whole part that to I had to get an answer from this funds. It's called Unoka. I'm telling you now. I'm telling you now, that they asked me to I had to restrict. How you say that? I have to re tell them.
Censor?
Yeah, I have to
Adjust it.
mandar, see, yes, for them, that it was my fault that I didn't hand in my pictures on time, and but that they will keep in the money, and it was not even that much. It was like $700, something like that. And but I said I will not, because I don't want people to censor my work. This is the real, it's the truth about what's going on the island and over the whole world, and why should I censor? Why should you censor? I mean, the money is for the arts and culture, and
And Lydia,
sorry.
a question. So, when you are performing in the performance itself, were you ever interrupted? Because this is maybe after, when, in terms of the final product, which obviously, but in the performance itself.
No, it was no, I was not. People didn't. They didn't, but the people from the organization, from the fundings, left. They left because I got there an hour late, and I explained myself because of the situation, and then they left. But they sent me a long letter with all these things, and then I said I will not I don't know how you say that word right now, but I will not excuse myself for not yes, for not doing what you're asking me. And I said, I would rather just leave it like that and continue with my work. And the thing is that I don't live on the island anymore, that's how it is. But I mean, like you asked me before, I think on the island, living on the island, and I would do the same. I will do the same, but I know I will get in trouble. I guess maybe I will burn my bridges, but I know that this work it's meaningful. It's not only for me. It's not actually only about me. It's about all the artists on the island that represent their work. And there's a lot of artists, a lot of people who don't want to ask for fundings because of certain criterias, and they ask too much they ask too much from the artist, and to censor the work, and to say, this is not good for the community. This is we're not ready for this kind of work. it's
Yeah.
it's it's interesting. So I'm actually happy that I'm living in Holland, and not happy because I want to be on my island, but it stops me from expressing how I feel. And it doesn't, I mean, it's very interesting to be able to really, really express myself the way I want to. And I encourage you to do so. Not to fear, not to be afraid of who you are and what you do and what you want to create and how you want to express it, because there's no boundaries. We create the boundaries in our mind. And I mean, so many other things are so in your face, abuse and all these things. But those things, those problems have their spaces. And I'm like, our work is important. We want to, nos quer conscientizar. We want to make this work. It has its value. It comes from a very sacred place. So I mean, it's a long process.
I think it's always also depending. Like, I mean, there's no boundaries. I also agree on that. In question and performance, I'm also always very careful in terms of safety as well. Like, so, in that there is still this idea. So I I I always find it nice when performers kind of making an art to kind of navigate that, still express, but still in a way that kind of doesn't endanger yourself, but just
Yes, yes.
shares the message. Um, we're quite like a while on Skype, and I'm very happy with the conversations we're having, and it's super interesting. Thank you, Alidia. Thank you, everyone,
Thank you to everybody.
for sharing. Really nice. Um, but I want to give, I don't know if maybe not all three, but maybe one of you would want to react to Alidia before we close, or
I have a comment.
Okay.
I think it's not a question, because I'm sure you're figuring it out now as you go. I didn't realize you had moved to Europe again, but I always wonder, and this is something I ask every Caribbean artist, or maybe it's not something we can answer, but how, the art you make in your island clearly is very contextual, it's very material specific, the banners that you use and the fringe, and it's about the people that live there that understand that this thing has this meaning, and you put it with this, and also the story of the church and that land is like common, almost like cultural knowledge. And I wonder how you frame this work when you move outside of that context, where of course where you live now is part of the issue with the island, but I just wonder how you think about the changes that will come, and is it a matter that it is even now more important to make this highly contextual work in this new space, or is it about opening it up to different this new space, the language that comes with that? Yeah.
I think it's not easy because, for example, if I, the chapel, in the chapel, a couple of, like a month before I was there taking this picture, there was some incident who happened there. This porn star from America came there and took some pictures, and it was a big problem. It was a huge thing. And then I think that is what this guy came to me, and I'm like, what are you doing? So people are very afraid, and people are very, it's an island, of course, and people are very conservative about and reserved and very religious about the standards, their standards, and the way the community has been living forever, very religious, and very, for example, we have certain traditions and it all, and rituals, and all comes to that. But for example, your work with the cards, that is also something that a lot of Aruban people like, and they do, but they don't talk about it because we still, as in the islands, we have some taboos. Certain things, they do it, they love it, but they won't talk about it. They won't say anything about it. It's secluded, and so there's many of these kinds of ways and traditions and old. Yes, I mean, as you know, Shareli, you also know about, Curacao, all the islands have their own, their stories, these traditions, very important to the people, to the inhabitants, but some of them are they're taboos. And how are you going to place that? Where are you going to put it? In which context? Are they going to stay taboos? Are they going to open up? Are we going to get some explanations about it? Is it going to be does this taboo becomes a tradition? And why is it not good? Because why is it not being, why it's not being valued? Why it's not important, but people do it? Why it's not important? So these are very difficult topics. I really wanna this, I wanna go research. I wanna discover. Also, I see in Samuel's work, the different sayings, different rituals, different. I mean, it all comes back to the same things. And as you see, Black Lives Matter, and then you see the indigenous people, there's still, it's still a huge struggle. It is. And we have to stand up for what we believe and what we feel. And for example, as the Caribbean people, we are very unique people. We come